Hey everyone, welcome to another Accessibility Talks or Ali Talks, the monthly viral meetup where we chat about digital accessibility, inclusivity, and usability. Each month we invite a speaker to present a topic, and afterwards we invite the community to ask questions and participate in the discussion. I'm your host today. My name is Tobias Williams. I work at Red Hat. My pronouns are he, him. Before we dive into the talk, let's take a minute to remind everyone that our group is committed to creating a friendly and safe environment for all. We expect all participants, speakers, hosts, viewers on YouTube, and those commenting on social media to follow the Accessibility Talks Code of Conduct. This applies to all community interactions, including events, verbal questions, and chat in channel. You can review the Code of Conduct at our website, which is alitalks.com/conduct. Our goal is to foster a productive dialogue where participants can share and learn from one another in an atmosphere of mutual respect. If you have questions, we love to get questions. So this year we're doing things a little differently. We're inviting our viewers to submit the questions ahead of each talk so we can incorporate them into our recording. If you have questions for our speaker, here's how you can ask them. During a live stream video, you can type your questions directly into the YouTube chat. If you're not watching live, you can post the questions in the comment section on YouTube or share them with us on LinkedIn, Mastodon, or Blue Sky. Just be sure to add us or include the hashtags AliTalks. That's A11yTalks. Direct links to our social media platforms are listed on our website, and we look forward to hearing from you. So we want to give a huge shout out to our bronze sponsors, the Agile Collective and Principal Financial Group. We appreciate your support. We also want to give a shout out to our AliCat Club members who donate monthly to the Ali Talks and our one-time donors as well. Thank you so much for your financial contributions. If you want to see your organization recognized as a sponsor of Ali Talks and help fund these meetups, you can visit our sponsor page on our website, which is alitalks.com/sponsorship. You can learn more there. And if your company uses Benevity for matching donations or gifts, you can double your contribution. Just search for Ali Talks, and we should appear as Ali Talks by Midwest Open Source Alliance. All right, today we have Mike Gifford, the Open Standards and Practices Lead at Civic Actions. Fun fact about Mike is he has a Woodle, which I think is a mythical beast, maybe? But Mike is going to tell us what that is, hopefully, and also present on alt text and AI. Okay, Mike, the floor is yours.
So a Woodle is a bit of a mythical beast. It's true, but she's in this case a dog that is a Wheaten Terrier Poodle cross, and she's behind me on the couch. So she may stick her head up at some point or make some noises, but hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully she just sleeps the presentation like she has much of my day. But that doesn't mean that you should sleep through the presentation. I'm hoping I'm going to keep you engaged. So yes, in terms of other stuff other than being an open standards and practices lead, I'm still a Drupal core accessibility maintainer. I'm approaching my 20th anniversary with Drupal, not as a maintainer, but as it's probably 12 years as a maintainer. Um, but also am a WC3 embedded expert. I do work with accessibility and sustainability on things like the accessibility roles and responsibilities mapping, as well as the web sustainability guidelines. And today I'm talking about alt text and AI. So first, I wanted to go off and to raise the importance of alt text. Why is this an important thing, and why are we talking about it now? And partly it's that it is one of the basic pieces of the accessibility that you need to be able to go off and to take anything that is non-textual and be able to represent it in a textual way, so the people who are engaging with screen readers can find out what that information is and what it represents. So from a WCAG or Web Content Accessibility Guideline perspective, it's success criteria 1.1.1. So it's right up at the very top. It's really helpful to ensure that there is a meaningful experience for all users, that people are able to share and engage in web content. But it's also something that's important for SEO and as well as text to speech tools like Alexa, Google Home, and Siri. So it's something that I think of as being part of providing that semantic layering to make sure that there is there's information being presented for all users that can be consumed across the board. So a while back, back in 2018 or 2019, I was arguing on stage with Denis Boudreau about AI, and I was pretty confident at this point that it was just not going to be as Denis was arguing in favor of AI, and I was arguing opposed to it. And I thought it was much easier to go off and to engage with the authoring tool accessibility guidelines, or ATAG, to help authors to guide users in creating to create better content. And Denis was much more on the side of we have to start using AI to be able to help authors, or to be able to create better content. And so we had a debate from ages ago, and Denis is somebody that I have a huge amount of respect for. He's on the accessibility roles and responsibilities mapping community group, as am I and a few others. And I've learned so much from him over the years. But I had this disagreement with him about alt text, and I was of the opinion that AI would never produce good enough alt text. I think I was wrong in my assessment of AI. And there's a few reasons for that. Not that I was necessarily wrong in that that it wasn't powerful. I just didn't think that it was going to be enough to simply describe an image. That the context matters so much. Trying to understand the author intent, trying to get a sense of the emotional value, getting a sense of how does this fit in the context of other things, and especially if you may have an image that will work well in multiple contexts, and so but other times you'll have an image that will need to have different alt text for each context that is being displayed in, and that meanings convey often a lot of additional meaning for the users that are consuming it. And there's the phrase that is it like an image is as good as 1,000 words or something like that. It's like, well, you don't have 1,000 words in alt text. You have generally, I mean, you can put 1,000 words in, but generally they're designed to be cut short, to be 180, 280 characters, something in that range, only a sentence or two in quality. And so it's trying to provide that context with something that was difficult to do. I also saw this as something that was going to be too expensive, and it was going to reduce the quality of the websites. That if we simply ship everything up to AI to take care of the delivering alt text, which is what a lot of people are hoping to be able to do, that we would reduce the quality of the results. And there are some real dangers actually to relying on AI for the generation of alt text. But I'll talk a bit about that later. So yeah, this was in many ways I saw as a tech bro shortcut to investing in quality content, and that authors should be able to get the support they need through better interface design, through better help text, through better error checking, and efforts to validate the content that is being provided by the authoring tool. If authors can be guided a lot more than they are. And the ATAG 2.0 guidelines are a good start to doing that. I was also involved in the We for Authors clusters program, where a number of different content management systems got together to say, how do we define a better experience for authors to make sure that they're able to make it easier to create accessible content. So this was essentially ATAG Part B. How do we try and engage our open source tools to make it easier for authors to do the right thing. So I also just want to go and say that AI alt text alternatives are becoming more common. We're seeing them in accessibility overlays, and there's a whole series of problems with accessibility overlays. But we're seeing them added in there for the creation of alt text. They're also available as extensions for browsers. So you can get this already in Chrome and Firefox. I haven't been able to identify whether or not this actually exists in Google Chrome or not. I tried to find it in a 2024 browser, but apparently back in 2019 there was an option to get image descriptions from Google as an option from Google Chrome. And also for Firefox, there's now tools to create alt text in PDFs and other alt text tools, even just from last year. And again, I haven't been able to identify or to pull out that information in a way that allows me to share that, or to replicate this. But there are certainly multiple blog posts about this coming soon or being part of the new browser stack. There's also tools like alt text AI or Chat GPT, where people can upload an image and get alt text provided to them. So that's something that authors are starting to look towards. Also, you may find that if you've taken a look at things like the Drupal CMS, that there's a great implementation of AI image alt text, and there's other options there as well. But we're starting to see alt text be included in content management systems as part of the content creation process. And some of these solutions are really quite good, and some are really quite scary. From the One of the big challenges of trying to bring an AI into a browser is that you're going to have different engines and different expectations, and you may find that and alt text will go off and be generated differently for every browser or every experience. Trying to have a consistent experience of what represents the author intent is going to be increasingly difficult if we're relying on browsers and AI in browsers to be able to generate that alt text. It is probably more useful to have that than it is to not have it if we're not going to have good alt text for images. It's a useful backup. But it's also something that is incredibly energy inefficient. If we rely on AI to be able to convert text to, or sorry, convert images to text and create that transcript, we have to sort of be wary of how much energy it takes to both train these large language models as well as to use them. So that's something else to consider. So I want to jump back a bit to the automated tools that many of you are going to be familiar with. So things like the Wave toolbar or Accessibility Insights. These are really great tools. They've really helped address many of the challenges that people have when trying to get started with accessibility. And they can certainly speed up the process of identifying accessibility problems in websites. Tools like Accessibility Insights are really great for identifying problems in the page and leaning on both the manual testing and automated testing to guide people through that. But there's also Google Lighthouse, and which both of those tools are based on Axe, which is developed by DQ as a great open source platform or tool or accessibility engine to try and help create a set of rules that can evaluate if there are things that are known to have accessibility problems. And so most of these tools, whether it's Siteimprove or Axe-based tool or Wave or others, they generally they will flag missing alt text, but they don't touch on quality issues. So it's rare to find an automated tool that will check for bad alt text. It will check for yeah, even trying to find generic or meaningless alt text usually passes these checks. So I have some examples we'll come into in a little bit, but it's a real challenge to not have more oversight for errors that are obviously problematic. Trying to think about looking at these things on a site-wide basis does really help to help people think ahead about how they need to what are the common problems across the board, and what help authors need to do to improve the alt text that's on the website, and make sure that it's addressed as quickly as possible. So It's also important to look at site-wide analysis because images are often repeated across pages, and page-by-page analysis overlook the problems. There may be organization-wide compliance efforts. You can also see that authors usually write multiple pages, not just one. So if you're going to find what problems exist, it might be old pages or pages that were caught by other people. You need to be looking at this as broader than just a page by page approach. We can also just see that a page by page approach simply has not worked very well. We're missing stuff. There's no alt text that's available, even on some of the even on government websites that have an accessibility mandate. In the U.S., we're finding that there are inappropriately missed alt text because of the people who are the authoring tools did not force it to be something that was caught in time. So a little while ago, this is a few years ago, I was looking at some efforts to try and find these alt text and to scan for alt text across a whole website, and was really impressed by Screaming Frog, which is a SEO tool that is quite useful for this. I wasn't impressed by the licensing process, and it always tended to take a lot more time to get started and to test and evaluate this than I was hoping to, and it also didn't look for things like title, long description, or area that might be associated with the image that might also be trying to add additional information or context to an image. And so I didn't find an open source alternative and thought that needed to be there. So I ended up building one. It was built with Python because that seemed to be a good way to scrape the web. I make no claims to be a Python developer. Everything I built was built with the help of ChatGPT and other tools that guided me from my old PHP programming experience, into working with a language that I have not really a whole lot of experience in. I did find that I was able to get a lot of flexibility and to engage with with modules in Python to be able to extend and to build something that I thought was quite useful. And there were a lot of iterations that, in working with a large language model, I was able to get something that worked effectively for me. And so what I built is something that extracts all text from a website and dumps it into a CSV file. I was able to build that simple CSV that looked for images, and then I was able to upload it into a Google Sheet, and then get feedback from others as people got to see an evaluation with some summary analysis or suggestions that came from that. Several people suggested an AI analysis was something that should be added, and yes, I did get to that, but we'll talk about that piece later. It was interesting looking at outdated HTML elements like long desk, because this is still an ongoing challenge. There are mechanisms to support longer descriptions of things like graphs, or the visualizations that have more complex images, maps like that. Often there are things that really probably shouldn't be put into an alt text, because it's designed. Alt text has been designed to be for shorter content than what you would want to if you wanted to describe a whole complex visualization, or especially data visualizations that often have many different elements to them. Even being able to look for area attributes was useful. And then I added some quality metrics to help determine, like, is it written in plain language? Are there things that are included that we should be looking to avoid? So things like image of, or there's lots of ways that we can look at including how and when you'd want to improve alt text, and what some of the common problems are that appear over and over again with alt text. So I wanted to provide some examples of some bad alt text here so that people can get a sense of what I'm talking about. So here are 4 examples from government websites that have accessibility mandates. None of these, as far as I'm concerned, meet the WCAG 2.0, let alone 2.1 compliance. And they're also structured in a way that is, yeah, I wanted to highlight these and say, okay, well, the online CD, I mean, that's clearly a file name. They dropped the .jpeg, but this is what it is representing. And there's so much more information on there that should have been represented in the alt text, or possibly just if all this information was available in the sidebar, then perhaps it would be useful just to describe the woman, and the fact that this is a European Commission project, and that logo is sitting on the page as well, to make sure that that's something that is clearly part of this EU dialogues program that Helena Daly is representing here. Now, you may look at the alt equals quote quote and say, well, alt equals quote quote is totally allowed, and it is, but it's not allowed inside alt text. So this was the null alt text that they provided was alt equals quote quote. So it was alt equals quote, alt equals quote quote. So that's what was in the source. And that's what they had for this, and again, that does convey a meaning, like seeing that you're closing a button or an X, that is something that does have meaning associated with it. Web presence, again, it doesn't much. Now that this is really illustrating the idea of having a responsive website where you have a desktop and tablet and smart view. Again, there's lots of ways to find bad alt text, and I use the scripts that I created to help identify this. Banner image, again, this is a banner image, but it has pictures of lots of kids, and that's relevant. Like if you've got images that convey meaning and whatnot, then that should be highlighted. So yeah, you can find my script on GitHub, and I've got I'm sharing the slides afterwards, and this is linked to the slides. But I created some information. I also used ChatGPT to go over to take the Python file and create a README from that. And it does seem to work, and have updated this script, and hopefully it's useful for people to look at improving the scanning tool. And I definitely appreciate contributions via GitHub, or just you can reach out to me as well if you've got questions or ways that you're interested in pushing this ahead. And it was nice to have the feedback from people and get a sense of what are the things that matter to people. And that open collaboration does really help build better tools. And accessibility is something that really is a shared responsibility across teams and across organizations. So I do hope that people push this further so that it becomes a more powerful analysis tool. So yes, somebody suggested that I include alt text for this, provide rather the AI generated alt text for this. So using the methods I described earlier, I built a tool that will take the images that are being that need help, that need work, and will upload them into one of a couple different LLMs so that I can provide possible alt text. Now, all these need to be reviewed, and it's not like I'm confident enough that the alt text that we're providing is definitely better than what was provided by the author. Certainly if there's no alt text available, and there's no it's not clearly a descriptive image, then I can see that this is something that would be it would clearly be better than not having alt text if it isn't a decorative image. But it was it was interesting to explore this. Now the alt text was longer and generally more accurate than what I was finding from users. And it's an interesting challenge because it's really hard to get users to write content for alt text and to figure out what it is to describe and what it is what they need to put into that text. And in fact, I had challenges with this as well, because it's, I don't want it to be too wordy. I want it to be accurate, but don't want to necessarily describe everything. And it was also interesting to see how some LLMs are able to get information from the URL itself, and others do actually need you to upload the file to the code base to be able to access it. But even the file name for an LLM can provide some interesting data that they are able to go off and to use as part of the process of creating alt text. And I structured this into a two-part system where the first script will go through and create the list of images, and after crawling 1,000 different web pages, it'll create a list of images for that, and then the URLs that they're part of. The second script will go and look at the all of the images, and then if alt text is needed, or just decided that the alt text is not good, it'll go through and use an LLM to generate the alt text. Now, it's also worth considering, if you're using an LLM to generate alt text, do you need to provide attribution for that? And if so, where and how do you do this? Because that's not something that currently we've been discussing. If you don't necessarily need to contractually provide a attribution if somebody creates an alt text for you as a staff member, but it is something that you may need to do with either legally or morally for using an LLM to create alt text for your website. So we've got some examples here to talk about the kinds of length that we can get from LLMs. So what they're generally, the kind of content. So this is one photo of John Rempel, and this is alt text that would pass all the alt text checkers that I know of. And it's not great because it says the photo of, and clearly it's an image, so it will be a photo usually. So it doesn't add a whole lot of information by having that. But I put this in the image into a LLM, and I got this response. And as you can see, it's much more detailed. It says, the image shows the headshot of John Rempel, a middle-aged white man with short brown hair and blue eyes. He is wearing a black jacket over a light-colored shirt. The background is out of focus, but appears to be a red brick building. Now, that's probably too much information, but it's a lot more information that gives some sense of who John Rempel is and how he's trying to present himself than photo of John Rempel. So it's an improvement, certainly if the editor gets in and edits it. And this is the image that it was working from. And I think that the image name was in this case John Rempel. So that's how it pulled that information out for his name. But you can pull in other bits of information when you're trying to present the description of the image. There are other ways to build your prompts so that you're able to sample from other pieces of information. Here's another one. In this case, it's governor's office. Now, as alt text, this is not great. Possibly could be accurate in some cases in the web page. But when I ran the image through the LLM, I got this text here, and it pulled a lot of information out. Obviously, it did not meet. There's a WYITIHE that's between the officer of the governor, and I don't know what that is, and it really doesn't matter. But it did pull out other alt text from the image, or all other textual information from the image, which was useful, probably. But it's probably just more useful to go off and look at this to say, is this image actually relevant? Is this something like, is it useful to have the press release and announcements text there? Is it useful to have other pieces for that screenshot of the governor's office? Is it a good screenshot? Like it's just even the use of the white space and the focus. Like I think that looking at the alt text that's generated from this image, I'm hoping that the author might say, actually, I think I could probably provide a better, more useful picture to describe what is being presented here, because right now it's not all that good. But the text description is much better than what we see in the alt text that was provided by a human. Um, so a bunch of people here will know me through the Drupal community, and will probably also know this person who's on the slide here. This is Dries Bochart, and he recently put out his results of testing 12 different LLMs for accuracy generating alt text. He highlighted that there's a huge need to address technical debt for alt text. He has some 10,000 photos, of which only 1,000 of them had alt text, and he didn't want to go through and manually enter all the alt text in for all the images, and was looking for a solution that would help him deal with this. But it was really quite useful how he looked at several of them and then compared the results and described, he also does a great job of describing how an LLM works for providing image to text. But it was clear that not all of these models are equal between the cloud-based models that are supported from proprietary systems, as well as the custom, as the self-hosted solutions that you can install and that are with an open or an openish license. It was just sort of interesting to see his evaluation here. So that's sort of one piece to think about when you're looking at alt text or AI. So there's a lot of different models to build on, and they keep getting better and better over time. There's also the side of like how do you prepare the AI to consume the information. You can send the image, but what are you asking at the same time? What is the additional context? You can limit to the length of the queries. You can do more experimentation to sort of figure out what are the ways that you can instruct your LLM to give you the kind of information or feedback you want. So I asked for some examples, and Tommy Felt went and said that this is what he uses to prompt his LLM, and it's useful to try and think about from a number of people who've been talking about how to go up and engage with LLMs through these messaging tools. It's useful to provide that sense of who you're asking them to be, and so in this case. Tommy was suggesting that they be a helpful accessibility engineer, but also that they want the responses in English. They want to be able to help visually impaired users, and they want this to be something that helps to pull out the purpose of the text. So, looking at what is the most important visual element. Please don't include the word image in the alt text. Keep the text concise, but still descriptive. You can provide all of this context in here. Tommy did include the number of characters, but in my experience, it was found it better to go off and to talk about words than characters. And also, I had mentioned that earlier, so in the previous slide. So I decided to change his text to this in terms of a number of words as opposed to the number of characters, which is what Tommy had initially stated. Another example we had was to return a succinct title, and to make sure that you break it down into different pieces. So you've got a succinct title, the alt text, and a long description. Again, I don't think that including a title for an image is a good idea, but it's interesting to see that there are that you can ask for not just one response from an LLM, but several. That can be then fed into your system and evaluated. In this case, Matthew's talking about using not words but sentences, and that again you're focusing on the meaning of the image. Trying to write in an active voice is also something that was useful, and to pick simple words over complex words. Again, we want to try and think about ways to engage in plain language if it's possible. Expressing one idea per sentence is also quite useful, and making sure that you're speaking to the user and using inclusive language where possible. I'm not sure about things like never use adverbs. Like maybe that's an appropriate thing. I'm not sure, but we're at the point where we can start to engage with these ideas and learn about how to better provide input to LLMs that give us more meaningful responses. And we can see just from the examples that we have here that there's a lot of opportunity to try and influence the images, or to influence the alt text. I definitely see that as being a really valuable possibility. Um, in terms of 2025 best practices, I do think that scanning your websites for existing alt text and then generating alternatives with LLMs is worthwhile doing, simply because so many of them are so bad. I think that it's trying to expose the AI generated alt text is also really useful. It should be part of the process. Like no author, there's very few authors who write good alt text to begin with, and can position themselves. They're thinking about how somebody who's blind, what value they might get out of the alt text. But if we can present an author with content that they can review and look at it, we're likely going to get much better results from this, and also be able to stop for those people who are worried about the energy consumption associated with using alt text to or using AI generated alt text. It's something that considering how many people are adding this into um, existing pages. I think it's or starting to browsers and into overlays and to plugins. Like I think it's much better to go off and to fix the problem upstream, make sure the author has the opportunity to review it, and consistently put out higher quality alt text so that people are not um, trying to go off and generate it on a browser level, because the client is not the right place to be ideally engaging with this. Um, but I do think there's also a space to encourage browsers to start using that local AI, which Chrome and others are developing, to ask questions or provide more detail. We want to be able to provide a personalized experience for our readers of our content. And although the alt text we provide should be generic and useful for everyone, it may be that people want to have additional information or want to be able to query the page. And this is particularly important if there's graphs or charts that are there, or if you're dealing with those more complicated visualizations. And if we try and position these AI tools that are becoming part of our client software to look at um, how we can just pull more information out of the visualization and provide that based on what the client is or what the user is interested in. This is something that is like it's a type of personalization that I don't think we've been able to give our users so far. But it's I think it's quite useful. And there's a lot of debates. Like some of you may remember a few years ago when the Hubble telescope was launched, NASA did a really wonderful job writing these really long and detailed descriptions of the stars, and what it was that Hubble was seeing. And that was an amazing opportunity to sort of to demonstrate what is possible. But it's unlikely that we're going to be able to convince authors to generate that level of detail for most content. And also beyond that, most blind users are not going to want to read an exhaustive description for every image on a page. There's just too many of them, and we don't want to have verbose alt text be something that is stopping people from engaging with the technology. So we want to make it as the default alt text that we provide to people be something that is as consumable and quick for people to get the gist of before they move on to the rest of the content. And with that, I am open to questions.
Okay, we have some questions for you. So the first question, as my video comes back on, there I am. Can AI find and fix mistakes in existing alt text?
I don't know how. I mean, potentially yes, but how you would do that is a really difficult thing. I mean, partly because AI is based on having like it's statistics, it's math, right? So what it's drawing on is generally bad examples. There are not that many websites that you can point it to say, this has perfect alt text. This is what we want. Also, you're going to find different users who want different levels of content. How much detail is going to be very much relevant to who your user is. You can use AI to be able to. I mean, one of the more interesting things that people have talked about, and that I'd love to see, is to say, if you take alt text and run it instead of from um, image to text, if you did it the other way around and did text to image, could it generate an image that was a reasonable facsimile of what the author had stuck in there? Does that actually, could you describe what the image that was provided, is that description that's in the alt text something that could be visually represented through something like a DALL-E 2? And that's, again, something that I don't think is good doing on a mass scale, because it's computationally quite expensive to generate images. Much easier to simply go from image to text once, I think, than it is to go from text to image, and to have that be evaluated by an author. But it's yeah, I mean, it is about trying to find the right tool for the job as well. And I think that AI is a great tool for assessing data, but it's also, it's not necessarily a great tool for finding information. It's great and identifying it. Like, we need to, in many cases, guide it in terms of what we see as being mistakes and what are not useful for humans. So I'd say maybe, kind of, possibly.
Okay, so one issue that can be kind of hard to grasp is determining, even as people, when an image is decorative and does not need alt text within the page, and when we're just providing like alt text and it's just complicating understanding the page for someone using assistive technology. Is this something that AI would be able to determine when an image is purely decorative and when it is there to add context to the content?
I mean, possibly, because I think it again, organizations will have different definitions about what is a decorative image or not. And sometimes, if you're just using a stock image that does not, you're just plugging in a stock image into something as a placeholder, then in some ways it doesn't really doesn't add at all to the value of the content, aside from providing a bit of additional space for the reader to go off and to navigate through the page, or to break up the page in a way. But if you had pages that were, or images that were clearly identified as decorative images, but if you were scanning those images and were able to find information that seemed to be relevant to them, then it might call into question whether or not that actually is a decorative image. Like, if it comes up with green squiggle or purple leaf, like, then it's like, that doesn't add anything. But if it comes up to, prime minister, or the queen, or, like, if there was something that was an image that was clearly stood out as being, I mean, it might have just been used as a placeholder, but everyone else who saw that would have meaning associated from that, would take that as something that was of value. And I think that it might be something that would be useful to call in question whether or not an image actually is decorative or not. In the code that I created, I just assumed that if somebody added a decorative image, that they actually understood that it was a decorative image. Although there are times where this is just done programmatically, and that whoever is building the interface is like, oh, well, this is clearly a hero image, which is filled with nonsense and nobody really cares. And sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it is just a blurry background, or something that just is more visually interesting to put a title on top of. But it could not. I mean, often they're not. Often they are actually have relevant information that's tied into the article, and they should be described. But they aren't. So yeah, I think you could go and help use it to help provide it. But also, just it's useful for, if you have AI built into the browser, then a user could query the decorative images to get information from that as well. So there would be an element where the user could override that and actually get a sense of what the images on the page are and how they're being used.
Thanks. Okay, can AI create alt text that works for different cultures and different contexts.
Yes, absolutely. Um, you can add in little prompts in here to go and if you're writing a joke website or a government website, you would want a different tone, right? And you would have a different level of what you would want to express, or even a commercial website. So certainly you could build build that into the prompt that you're presenting to the AI. One of the challenges, though, is that you're yeah, most of the LLMs are built on English. So if you're dealing with a less popular language, it might be harder to go off and get the LLMs that are providing content that's relevant for that. There's also locales that are different. Like if you're speaking Quebec French versus France French versus French from Africa, like you're going to have different, or Haiti, you're going to have different tones of what are the what the language is and how it's interpreted. It may be more difficult to go off and provide alt text that is culture specific, but I'm hoping that it is something that is coming and that will be available, and it might be something that again you might want to have some sort of a translation in here as well, so that even if you're looking at a government website, that you might want to have it be presented to you in certainly a different language, because that would be something that could be more easily done, or to pick up certain cues that you're interested in seeing within the page. And there might be ideas about food that are culturally relevant, that if you're clear that you're interested in that might be able to be surfaced to the user.
Awesome. Okay, we got time for one more question. So, in your opinion, what is the future of AI and accessibility?
It's really mixed. It's something that yeah. I mean, I definitely think that there's a lot of potential, and that people with disabilities are using AI already to extend their abilities and to be able to have greater greater ability to engage with the world on multiple levels. Um, I'm also aware of things like Marshall McLuhan is a great Canadian um, media theoretician, theorist, whatever he is. He's a academic who's long since dead, but he wrote that every extension is also an amputation. So as much as we can rely on these tools when the power is working and we have all of our infrastructure in place to work as it is, we're dealing with increased extreme weather and other sort of global crises that are happening, and it is difficult to go off and build your entire world around the possibility that your AIs are going to be um, informing you filling in all the gaps for you that you would not otherwise have access to. And especially when you've got so much energy being used by AIs, and the environmental consequences of those AIs, like how many of the data centers that are being built right now are being built in floodplains, or are at risk of fires, or like it we're we live in a very precarious world, and increasingly so. And so I think there's again a lot of potential there, but it needs to be moderated properly. I also think that there's a lot of people who want to fix the problem of disability and just sort of build that exoskeleton, or build the implanted eye that allows you to, the bionic person. They want that ability to go to use technology to fix the problems of humanity, but disability is ultimately a human problem. We're never going to get rid of disability as part of our. I mean, maybe when we upload our experience to the brain, or to silicon, and we move off our from our wetware to a solid silicon based thinking environment. But I don't see that happening in my lifetime, and I think that we have to be very careful about how accessibility is positioned in the world, so that we are not we're not assuming that this problem is being solved. This is something that is very much part of ours, and part of the experience of humanity, and we should be learning to live with that, and appreciate those people who have disabilities, as opposed to saying we'll just get some AI to fix that. Just wait till next year. And you know, it's also just fascinating, even without AI, trying to think about the intellectual property issues that come with having proprietary pacemakers, where you can't review the source of the software that's running that keeps you alive. Like even beyond the AI aspects, we have not addressed the challenges of technology and property and humanity. So that's my thoughts there.
Thank you. That was very thought provoking. Again, also thank you for saying wetware because that was the word that came into my head as well at the same time. Right. We're always looking for speakers and new voices in the accessibility community. We try to make a conscious effort to include marginalized groups in tech in our speaker lineup. So if you're interested, please reach out to us by email at team@alitalks.com. And for those with IAAP certifications, AliTalks speakers and attendees receive professional development credits through IAAP for your continuing education. We are also looking for feedback. So we'd love to hear what we're doing well as any ways in which you feel like we could do better. You can provide this feedback to us at alitalks.com/feedback. And we really appreciate your input. So let us know. And lastly, how can you follow and subscribe? So you can go to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/c/accessibility talks. You can also contribute through Benevity or Open Collective, and the page for that is the opencollective.com/alitalks. Follow us on LinkedIn, LinkedIn/company/alitalks, Blue Sky, alitalks.com, and Mastodon @alitalks. Thank you so much for attending, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one.